tell me a little bit about the Hamilton connection, which I'm imagining is what led to the kind of, you are the guy that is shooting basically Broadway actors' musical careers. Like how is that all just kind of through recommendation from one person to the next, essentially?
So do you need my video feedback? Are you recording this?
No, it's totally fine. I mean, we'll use video, but it's a podcast ultimately.
Yeah, it's true. I just want to.
You're also a DP, so that's the funniest part about.
No, well,
I'm nervous that my audio
camera's
will
plugged
sound
into USB, and I don't know why it says battery exhausted, even though it's being powered. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We don't have that much time. How did I become the DP for Broadway actors turned real actors?
No, Broadway actors' musical careers.
Yeah, Broadway actors' musical careers. That's a funny story. So when Hamilton was nothing, when no one knew what Hamilton was, it was an off-Broadway production, and when they were going to Broadway, let's see, how do I start the story? Leslie Odom Jr. is the reason why I've done anything with the Broadway community. He reached out to the person who shot his wedding, his name is Daniel Chestnut, and he runs a production company in LA called Process Creative, California rather. And he shot weddings for a while, and he ended up shooting Leslie's wedding. And when Leslie was about to go on Broadway as Aaron Burr of Hamilton, he was like, I loved my wedding video so much that I want to hire Daniel to come and shoot the opening night of Hamilton because he did such a good job. But Daniel said, I don't know if I can afford to take time away to go shoot this one night. I could probably just hire a freelancer to go shoot it for me, and I can just kind of make some notes on it. So he called me and he was like, hey, are you freelance? And I said, yes. Long time. And he was like, can you go, rent a camera and shoot this thing? It's for this guy who I shot his wedding. He's really cool. He's in this thing called Hamilton. It's like a rap musical, and it might be good. And I was like, sure. Okay. I actually said no at first because I was like, rap musical, that sounds bad. I don't know anything about that. And I told my wife, and she was like, I don't know. It sounds like a cool, New York opportunity. You've never done anything like that. You might be fun. So I said, okay, sure. And he sent me around to a whole bunch of people's houses the day of. And I just kind of, ignorantly asked them, how are you feeling about tonight? And they were like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. It's just a long time coming. We've been planning this for so long, and we're just excited to see everybody's reaction to it. And And I was like, yeah, great. I have no concept of what this thing is at all. And
did they know at that point?
I mean, they all had a hunch. I mean, it had gotten to Broadway at that point, so they were all pretty confident that this was going to knock everybody's socks off, which obviously it did. And, then I go over to the choreographer's house, and I'm interviewing him. And then I go over to Anthony Ramos's house, and he's eating a sandwich and puts on his backpack, and we sit on the subway together, which, side note to that, on that subway trip to the Richard Rodgers Theater, we realized that we went to the same church, which was this very interesting serendipitous connection. And I just didn't know that because he would, come in late and leave early, because he was, practicing for this play, for this musical. And it was no way. And we knew all the same people and had the same friends. And it was that's very small world. Anyway, we get to the theater, and, I'm filming people getting ready, putting their makeup on, sending out all their little gifts around. And then I meet Leslie, and Leslie's so nice, and he's opening his little gifts, and he's like, hey, you should go outside and go film the red carpet. And I was like, the red carpet? Who's on the red carpet? Who's coming? What is this? And then, you see Samuel L. Jackson, you see the Roots, and you see, it was just, I saw celebrity after celebrity.
With the Roots, what happened with Questlove? Was he actually mad?
No, he was just checking his teeth.
Oh.
He was like checking to see if he had anything in his teeth for the photos. So he like took the camera, flipped the like flip screen around.
No way.
Looked at his teeth and he was like, "Stop recording, man. Stop playing." And then he was like, "All right, I'm good." And that was, he wasn't mad. He was just like, let me make sure that in these photos that actually matter, I don't have anything in my teeth.
Isn't that funny how the dynamic changes between photographer and videographer depending on the gig? It's like,
yeah, these red carpet photos are going to show up tomorrow in all these publications, and who knows who's ever going to see this kid over here with this camera.
Yeah. How are you navigating the politics of that situation? Because I'm imagining the people don't know that Leslie Odom Jr. gave you the permission to be there. So are you feeling unwanted while you're shooting that?
Well, I just didn't feel like I was making any level of long lasting impact. I was just like, I am just a fly on the wall. I'm shooting this like a wedding, like they told me to. This isn't that big of a deal. There just happens to be celebrities here.
And no one questions, why are you here?
No. I mean, he gave me a pass to go to the pit where all the other photographers were, kind of thing. Like there were barricades and there was, hundreds of people outside of the gates, like watching these famous people go into this opening night. And then my wife texted me and she was like, I was driving home from work and I heard on the radio that there's this like huge Broadway show opening tonight called Hamilton. And there's this big like after party and like, that's the thing you're doing, right? And I was like, I guess so. I guess so. It seems like there's a whole bunch of important people here. So I think, this might actually be a lot bigger than I think it is.
And then from there you go to the after party. And then what's that experience like?
Well, no. So then I watched the play. I watched the musical. They paired me up. They were like, "Hey, by the way, you have a seat, buddy. You need to go get tickets from her." And it's this lovely woman named Yvette Nicole Brown, who is this like very famous actor who was in Community.
Yeah.
And she like comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, are you Simon? I'm your seat buddy." And I was like, "What?" I watched you for like 5 years on TV and now we're like going to sit together. And she knew all the words to all the songs because she had watched it off Broadway. She was friends with Leslie Odom Jr. Like she was like the hype man for me to be like, oh my God, this thing, one, has existed for a lot longer than I think it has existed. And two, people love it. And everyone loved it. And it was, it was just wild. This entire place was packed. I was sitting on the third row with like her and the cast of like Orange is the New Black.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I recognize all these people and I'm like surrounded by celebrities and this is so weird. And I just have like a camera and a monopod and I'm trying, and then this musical happens. And all the people that I just spent all day with interviewing who just seemed like totally normal. Like, how do you know that someone is extremely talented and knows all these dance moves and songs and this level of performance when they're just being interviewed, having no context of who these people are? And I'm watching all of these people perform this like incredible thing. And I'm like, none of these people told me that it was like this. None of these people, like, they were so humble and like nonchalant about this entire thing that I was completely like swept off my feet and was just like, oh my God, this is like the craziest thing I've ever seen. And on top of that, this was the first Broadway show I had ever seen in my whole life. It's the first and only Broadway show. First and only Broadway show I had ever actually been to. So the entire thing was this brand new experience. So then I watched the show. It's obviously amazing. And then they said, as soon as the lights go off, turn the camera on and record everyone's reaction. So I did. And it was, a standing ovation. We get swept off to the after party and the Roots are playing at the after party. And there's like a Macy's gigantic barge outside, like blasting off the biggest fireworks show you've ever seen in your whole life. Jeez. And like Lin-Manuel gets up on stage and starts like rapping with the Roots and it's this whole thing. And we're just like, oh my God, what is this thing? I end up coming home at like 2:30 that night and my wife's like, how was it? And I was like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm pretty sure it was a big deal. We edited it together. That job was pretty critical, because, that video has been watched millions of times now. And, most importantly, just gave me a relationship with all these people who were relatively unknown at the time, all things considered. I mean, they were known, but not as much as they are now. Anthony Ramos has gone on to have a incredible acting career and music career. Leslie is, he's freshly in like the new Sopranos movie on HBO Max. And, a handful of these people, Daveed Diggs, like everybody who was in that show in the original cast has now gone on to do amazing things. Like Jasmine Cephas Jones is now in like a Showtime series. Like, it's just like everybody has evolved and skyrocketed since that day. And, I'm happy to know some of them personally now. And yeah, that job opened a door to film a music video with Leslie, which then opened a door to film a music video with Anthony, which then opened a door to, those two jobs were like, hey, by the way, I'm the one guy who shoots Broadway music videos. And so then I worked with Ben Platt, and that's a whole other story. Anyway, that whole part of my career is almost autonomous to everything else that I'm doing. That's like totally unique relationships outside of the advertising world. And it holds a very special place. And when I get phone calls from any of those guys, I'm like, yep, what are we doing? Let's do it. I'm happy to do it.